Hello and welcome to another episode. My name is Alan, and today is kind of an open letter to Bethesda. Just to signify my kind of observations of the Fallout series. Todd Howard, Pete Hines, Bethesda. You have an amazing IP in Fallout. Not that big a fan of the Elder Scrolls. Honestly, haven't played many of the other IPs except for maybe Doom. That's because I played the original Doom back in the day, and I bought your recent iteration of the series. Now, that being said, the one I look forward to the most is Fallout. As someone who has been a lifelong fan of history, it's was the major I went to college to study, and seeing that how history can be affected with the Fallout world, just it fascinates me. It amazes me. And I love it for that. However, you're making some severe blunders. And I know you've received a lot of flack recently for Fallout 76. And believe me, I've tried to give you time to execute to get this better done. Although, to be perfectly honest, you should have worked in house to take a lot of these issues out to fix a lot of the problems. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Although I was rather ecstatic to see such a close, you know, iteration of the Fallout universe to where I am. People may go, California, New Vegas. Honestly, I can't feel too much for 1, 2 in Vegas. I, I just don't. I was ecstatic to see one that explored the kind of surroundings I've grown up and used to, my entire life, what may have happened. But you kind of blundered into that. Again, it's not an unplayable game, not the worst I've ever played. But you all definitely, I've said it before and I'll say it again, y'all definitely screwed the pooch on this. Now, With that said, let me get to some points here. Do you all create big, beautiful worlds? Oh, absolutely. They're gorgeous. They're huge. It's definitely one of the better points you have that you bring to the Fallout universe. A negative, and everybody can see this. Everybody knows this. Everybody has to recognize this. Your engine, it's done. You're going to have to either use a more reliable engine or get rid of the one you have. You know, or create a whole new one. But this current engine, you can only revamp it so many times. I'm sorry, but I know it takes time, but you seriously need to revamp the engine or create a brand new one because we're seeing the same glitches, the same bugs, and it just isn't right. You should recognize this. You should understand this. Either use a new engine, create a new engine that will last you for a while, or use the Unreal Engine while you're creating a new engine if you have to. It's just your current engine, the engine you used, the 3 New Vegas, 4, and 76, it's done. It honestly, it's had its time, and that's kind of over. There are clearly too many issues with it. It has too many glitches, too many bugs. You need a better engine or something. Now, let's move on to my next point. Storytelling. You do a fantastic job as far as telling the story through the images we see, through the graphics. This, like, we see skeletons, propped up in certain positions. You do wonderful storytelling in that manner. Even I'll even give you credit with the holotapes and notes. You can tell environmental storytelling. That's what I was trying to think of. You do a wonderful job of environmental storytelling, even to a degree on third person. But you seem to have difficulty telling the story as a whole. And this is something you're kind of they fans have kind of jumped all over you for Bethesda. So many people love New Vegas, and I've got to give New Vegas credit because it has multiple ways of ending. You can follow different paths. You're not as well versed in the branching path narrative, especially in the world as a whole. Like I said, um, storytelling graphically with, you know, um, the skeletons or, your little Easter eggs that you leave with like teddy bears or garden gnomes. You do a wonderful environmental storytelling. I keep forgetting the word. You do a fantastic job of the environmental storytelling. But for the entire game, I mean, honestly, it just feels subpar. Fallout 76 had an interesting premise. You know, the world, the environment was lacking living human NPCs. There were still NPCs, Graham and the different robots, but a living human NPC you couldn't have, and a lot of people complained about that. I didn't think it was that bad of a deal. You still told a decent story on that end, but there needed to be more because it felt lackluster. I mean, one of the biggest points of Fallout is a dead world. So you did fine there, but it just felt lack very lackluster. You do a wonderful job in some aspects, but in others you really need to rethink what you're doing. With the money your parent company ZeniMax has, I love the fact that you can afford the rights to a lot of the environmental music um, to set it up. You know, music from the Ink Spots, which is one of the foundations of the game. But again, you need to take some time. We need another engine, and you need to work on a branching narrative. Because honestly, you've turned towards a lot of fetch quests, which some fetch quests That's perfectly fine. But Fallout 4 seemed filled with them, and 76. Yeah. Again, wasn't the worst game in the world? And especially now, it's definitely playable. But number one, you have a severe problem with developing your branching narratives, especially for a game that's supposed to be an online game that would keep people playing it for a while. We haven't even opened the vaults other than the named Vault 76. There's still 3 other vaults that are supposed to be involved in DLC, and we haven't even opened. And a lot of people have quit playing. A lot of people have beaten the game. Like I said, I wouldn't consider the game great by any means. It's playable. You can find some enjoyment out of it. But for an online experience, for what it should be, no. It just really missed the mark. And I think what this kind of tells us is Fallout should stay as a single player game. But with that said, that's all I wanted to kind of talk about Bethesda. You do some things wonderfully, but there's other things you bungle so badly. And as a fan of the Fallout series, of this alternate timeline that could have been, I want to see better. I hope for better. Because I know you have that capability. Goodness knows you have the money, the resources, everything to do it. You've just got to implement it, which I think has been part of the problem. Capabilities there, but that's what we could say about 76. The possibility was there, just poorly implemented. Anyway, like I said, that's it for this video. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. I'll see you all again in the next video. But until then, later.